Fantastic course. I'm going to talk on one of my favorite therapeutic penetrating keratoplasty. Let's have a look at this patient. This patient was operated, I think, some 5-6 years back. He had come with a limbus infiltrate. It was fungus, and this is 6 weeks post-operative, post-therapeutic, and this is 3 years post-operative. The patient is maintaining 6'6" with just 0.5 spherical. This is one of the very few cases, I think 4 or 5 cases out of 300-400 therapeutic keratoplasty that I've done who have maintained this thing. But the idea of showing is this is also possible with therapeutic PK. This girl who had a corneal melt after infection underwent therapeutic PK, and after that she underwent a cataract extraction also, and she is also maintaining well. These two cases tell us the spectrum of therapeutic PK, why we do therapeutic PK, or the indication. The first indication is where you have a non-responding corneal infiltrates. The infection is there, but it's not responding to the medication. And second is you have a collagenolisis. That is, in first this you want to get rid of infection, and here you want to provide a tectonic support where there is a collagenolisis. So these are the two goals of therapeutic penetrating keratoplasty. You have to have these things clear in your mind so that when you are doing surgery, you keep these things in mind. So what's so different about it? Why do we need to talk about therapeutic? We have already talked about penetrating keratoplasty, everything about it. So why do we need to talk about this? Why we should really bother? So the answer is, have a look at this patient. This guy had, again, limbus to limbus, fungal infiltrate, and he was seen in 2007. Underwent large graft, 24 sutures, first POD, fantastic. Sent for histopath, there were fungal filaments, breaching DM, and then micro showed acrimonial species. Have a look at this third postoperative day. You can see something here. Okay, 6th day, 9th day, and there was a recurrence of infection in the graft, and this is how he went on. Ultimately, I had to do a regraft, and then after regraft, fortunately, it was settled. There was no recurrence of infection, but this is what we are left with. Here, I had to do an optical graft over it, maintained well, but then he had a bad pressure, had to do a AGV as well. But with these, after 3 grafts, 1 valve, he's maintaining well. So we can have a recurrence in therapeutic. We have to think about glaucoma. We have to think it is possible that you might need a regraft. So that's why we have to bother about therapeutic PK. All 3 steps are slightly different from a routine penetrating keratoplasty. Let's have a look what is so different about perioperative. When you have posted a patient for therapeutic, what do you see? It's better to have an organism in hand. You should know what you are dealing with. It is always better because you know if it's fungus, it may be more, there will be some filaments who are in the healthy cornea as well. Better to delineate and document the extent of infiltrate so that you have tentatively in mind what refine you are going to use. Definitely do ultrasound B scan in all the cases, because you know whether there is a lens, you are going to see the lens inside, crystalline lines, pseudophakia, whether there are wet membranes or not. That will also tell you whether you have to really take this patient for therapeutic. Rule out all systemic diseases. Keep the pressure low. If I prefer to give patient mannitol around 1.5 to 2 hours before surgery if he is fit and he is not a cardiac patient, because in these patients they tend to have high vitreous pressure. And most important is patient counseling. The patient counseling in therapeutic and optical differs. And now we come for the intraoperative part. These patient can be taken for local anesthesia if the infiltrates is small, These kind of patients, no problem. But if you have a melt, I personally prefer to take the patient in GA, because sometimes when you are giving block and they already have melt, you can have a lens coming out of it. Or you can do very slow local anesthesia. My preference is general anesthesia. Host preparation is different. Graft preparation again is different. Suturing, you might not think of continuous. You will prefer a interrupted one, and number can increase. You might need to use some intraocular antibiotics at the end of the surgery. What is different about host preparation? When you are taking the Trifine, you see the extent of the infiltrate and go beyond it. It's preferable to go at least 1 millimeter beyond it. And sometimes if you have a perforation, it's difficult to Trifine. So there you can use some cyanoacrylate glue or BCL patch, and then you have to face and handle the exudates in the anterior chamber, where it's better to remove those exudates with the help of viscoelastic. then you definitely have to have a PI here, preferably two big peripheral iridectomies, and you need to preserve a crystalline lens. If you have a fungus and you have a phakic lens over there, you have to ensure you should preserve it, because if you lose the lens, there are high chances that the infection will go in the vitreous and you would lose the eye. And then ledge, when you see the ledge, in infection is altogether different. You have to carefully remove the ledge, because sometimes these organisms are there and you see the recurrence from the ledge itself. Again, sizing, once you have prepared your host, better to measure it with a caliper and then choose your graft size. You might need some large trifines. You have to stock. If you want to take up therapeutic PKs, please keep a stock of larger diameter trifines as well. As I said, it's better to measure the host diameter. I'll show you a couple of videos where these things will be discussed. This is a patient who had a graft melt. Okay, you can see this melt, this small melt over there. So if there's a melt and you are doing a regraft, there's not much issue, because you don't have to trifine. All you can do is just remove these sutures, and as yet shown you, what I do is use a blunt side of the 15 number blade, and then you can remove the old graft. So although there was a perforation here, there was not much issue, because here I'm using the caliper. So what I do is I see what exactly I have cut, and then use at least 0.5 or 0.75 millimeters beyond it, the graft size. And then suturing is same, or the difference, as I said, is I use only interrupted, because these sutures, they tend to get loose, and what I'm doing is forming the angles and then routine suture pattern, preferably interrupted. And then at the end of the surgery, sometimes you need to give intraocular antibiotic as well. Surgery is over. So sometimes when you have a larger perforation and you want to trifine, you cannot trifine with a glue. So here what I've used is a BCL patch graft in the center. You can see there was a small BCL, bandage contact lens, was cut. It was placed over it and glued all over, so that you have that perforation is sealed. So now when you trifine it, you can do it easily. And what I've used is Gentian violet to mark that area. And once you have marked that area, you don't really have to keep on trifining, because there is already perforation. Just mark it and then engroove it with the help of 15 number blade. You can you have to be patient, very slow, and keep on engrooving it until you see that now you can actually enter it. And then usual thing, cut very nicely, very gently. You have lens down there, and sometimes you see here these exudates are stuck there. So you have to be gentle, either use cannula or separate these exudates from down there, and then you cut the whole diseased cornea out. Here these, as you can see, I have cut a small nick here. There was a vitreous here, this small nick, while I was cutting because these things were tightly stuck there. So I'm forming the angles with the help of visco after vitrectomy. This is a vitrector. So whatever vitreous was there, this was taken off. This was a pseudophakic, nicely formed, nicely angled. This is very important. If you don't have formed angles, you'll face these all glaucoma and all those things. Keep on forming the angles even after 4 sutures. And once your 8 sutures are in, then you can slowly start replacing the viscoelastic. This is the ledge, as I was telling, that it is very important to remove this ledge. Sometimes you get a recurrence from these ledges. So and when you have these kind of thing, you don't have a very good triffination. So you are cutting, you tend to leave more ledge. So you have to be consciously aware of that. And this is the exudative membrane that I was talking about. So once exudative membrane is out, you don't have to be very aggressive about removing this exudative membrane. Then measure what exactly the diameter you have got, increase it by 0.5 or 0.75 depending upon how is it. And then suturing is same thing, nothing specific about that. So this patient, this is an infiltrate, total infiltrate. So here I'll measure the size of the infiltrate, and then I'll choose what it is. And there was a small perforation, so I've just glued it with the cyanoacrylate glue. So once you have glued it, you have sealed, you can use triffination well. So after marking what exactly diameter trifine I'm going to use, this would be at least 1 millimeters, or in fungal maybe 1.5 millimeters beyond the infiltrate. Then you make an initial groove, increase it with the help of 15 number blade. These are very edematous, this area is very edematous, so you need to go very slowly. I personally prefer sometimes on wherever you have space you can enter. You maybe at 3 o'clock or 12 o'clock as per your hair. See, if you pull it out, you will tend to remove this thing. So the exudate was stuck there. So what I did is I saw that there was some force. So I left it there. I ensured that this is nicely separated, and then I'll handle these exudates separately. So what I am doing is I am just making a plane in between the lens and the exudate with the help of viscoelastic substance, and then removing it. You have to be gentle. Sometimes you can pull the iris also, or you can pull the lens also, and then taking care of the ledges. As I said, make PI, measure what is the thing that you have cut, increase it by maybe 0.75, and then suture it off. Have a look at this patient. This had you can see there was a melt. So this was a small melt, so I thought I'll glued it, and same thing. Then visco from one side, started refining it, refination size slightly more. I saw that there was some leak, so I had to reinforce the glue here. So you have to, it's not that sometimes when you are refining and you see that it's not firm, so you just check, maybe that glue was not sufficient. So I had to use some more. So you can see sometimes you have to use large graft. So if you have this thing, what I do is I keep this cotton bud wetted with the adrenaline and wait for around one and a half minute, and then when you remove, the life is easy. I generally don't like to cauterate, but if it's really big and you want to know what is the status of limbus, you can do a 360-degree peritomy also, and then you can refine your host. Okay, I'll show you this thing. Have a look at this. Can you see this? This lens is popping out. So sometimes the anterior capsule is already ruptured. So you have to take care of this. So what I'm doing is, if I have got this lens popping out, and because of the injured injured anterior capsule, I'm just getting very slow, and I'm ensuring that I don't touch this. Save it. Remove the ledge even before I have touched this nucleus. Fortunately, the PC was intact, forming the angles, and then with the help of visco only. So I'm not using any force. Gentle, remove whatever cortical matter you can remove with the help of Simcoe, and then same thing. So this is almost same. So sometimes the last thing is, when you see the refined size, there are exudates which are actually more than the infiltrate size. It deceives you. Have a look at this. This patient has the endoexudates also. So once you see it, it's better to wash these exudates out. So this is not a patient of therapeutic PK, some other patient. I'm just showing this video to tell you that sometimes it is deceived. So suppose you take around 9.5 millimeter graft, that is not needed. Once you have removed these endoexudates, you see that the infiltrate size are actually less. So if you in the slit lamp, you have done your careful slit lamp examination, you see that there are some infiltrates, better to remove those infiltrates, then decide your refined size. Then after surgery, half corneal button should be sent for histopathology, half for micro, and so that if in case there is a recurrence, you know what you are actually dealing with. Post-operative, you have to use antibacterial in case as per the etiology. If it is fungal, use antifungal for at least 3 weeks, and then start steroids if there is no recurrence. If you need a regraft, that is optical graft, so better to wait for at least 3 to 6 months or till the inflammation is subsided. It should be nice, then you can take the patient for DSEC or optical PK. You need to keep a watch on IOP always. So as I said, you have all 3 steps: pre-operative, intraoperative, and post-operative. They are slightly different, and if you just keep these things in mind, you will end up saving these lot of these eyes. Thank you very much.